Um, cool. So let's start with the fulfillment backend sync. I think you got the items, Tyler.
All right. Yeah. So these are a couple things that that came up sort of recently. I was curious about. One, I guess, was just like the QA team. I know that we had a hire. I tried to look back in Slack. I saw an announcement about QA, or at least a quality person. I was curious what the timing was like for when they would be starting, and like what their like role would be, kind of related to the work that we do.
Yeah, so I think so. The last update is obviously we have a new QA manager for the growth section, and I assume I'm not sure that there are any reports right now. I can find out, but yeah, I think things are going to be moving in that field from now on, because again we now have the this manager, and I had a coffee chat last week. Obviously, yeah, they just recently started, so probably still getting acquainted with things. But
Sure.
I think, yeah, I think we should see some progress there on the QA side of things.
Do you have any like thoughts about how you want that role to fit in with what we do? Like, curious about like whenever we merge in new things, are they going to be like reviewers on things manually before things get merged in, or once it gets to staging? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think we're probably going to follow the same as we do in GitLab. So the developer is still responsible for testing things and staging, but then in GitLab we have some proper end-to-end test that we don't have in the customer's application. And I think that there's going to be the next big thing for QA to work on, which is how we can test all the integrations, and especially, oh, actually, sorry, Chinese. So we were talking about the new QA team for growth. So I think the big focus for them might be how we can test end-to-end the applications, like the customer's app connecting to the GitLab application and plus all the other APIs. Because at the moment, I think that is the main thing that we're failing to do. Like, we don't have any proper testing. We just mock calls to everything, but it's just something that is missing, and that we do have in GitLab.com. I think that is run as part of the before deploying pipeline for GitLab.com. So we can add, once we have something like GitLab QA or something like that brings up an instance and then connects to GitLab.com and so on. Once we have all of that in place, then we can run it as well. And that would be like a big, proper integration test, apart from the spec that we have. I think that's probably going to be the big thing that they're going to work on. But obviously, they're still going to support us in other testing related aspects as well. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm encouraged. I think it'll be great once we have some of that stuff put in place. Let's see. And then the other item that I had that I just want to raise was feature flags in the test suite. So this was kind of brought up because of a bug that got in with subscription amendments recently. And, after thinking through it a little bit, I'm wondering if we maybe should have approached it a little differently as to like when we turn on a feature flag. So we made a decision, a couple months ago maybe, to disable feature flags by default in the test suite. And I think that, I think it was brought up that that doesn't follow GitLab exactly, but the sort of the reasoning behind it was we have, if a big feature is going in that affects a lot of the existing tests and potentially breaks it, like the Zora REST API feature did, it was going to be a big kind of undertaking to get all those tests fixed up front, and we couldn't iterate as easily. So we decided to do that, but I think it probably would have been good to get that feature flag on by default, that one specifically on by default in the test suite before we turned on the feature flag in production, because it would have caught that one bug. I didn't know if others had thoughts about that, just in general, like having the feature flags off by default, or the practice of making sure that the test suite is running with that feature flag before we turn on in production. I have a couple other thoughts, but I'll leave it at that for now. I don't know if Shreyas or Karina have any opinions on the matter. Like, it'd be good to hear them. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion. I think.
Can you hear me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I was just going to say, I wanted to. I don't know what we do in GitLab.com, just to follow, whatever we're doing there. I'm not sure. But it would be nice to figure out because we have the same thing in the GitLab code base. So I wonder if that's switch on by default or not. I'm not sure right now.
I think I heard from some other folks that it was on by default, and I guess I have mixed feelings on it. I mean, my initial gut reaction is to have it off by default until you're ready for it to be on, but I could be convinced otherwise, I guess. But I mean, I guess if it's not a big topic of conversation, we can table it and leave it as is. And I guess my only thing would be just to make sure that it does run in the test suite fully before we turn on in production. The other option that some other engineers raised, mainly just Jeremy, was that we can run things. He was calling it like a test matrix, where all the tests run with the feature flags off and the feature flag on. I mean, I guess you could do it specifically for a particular feature. I don't exactly know what that looks like, in practice, but the idea of it, sounds nice. So it could be like a bit of a undertaking to get that set up, like just from infrastructure wise. But I think that the simpler solution and like a shorter term solution would just be make sure we have it on before it turns on in production.
Yeah, I think maybe we can always create an issue in the fulfillment meta thing, and or I don't know. But again, I think what you mentioned makes sense. As long as we have that on before switching it on in production. Now, I'm not sure how to enforce that, because that's the problem.
Oh, right. Yeah, it would be hard to enforce, I think.
Yeah.
I guess just personally, I'll try to keep that in mind if I'm, turning on the feature flag.
Makes sense.
That's it for my topics. Anybody else?
Cool. Well, if there's nothing else, thanks everyone for joining. We'll upload this somewhere.
All right. Sounds
Cool.
good.
Bye.
See ya.